The company sergeant major is the senior non-commissioned soldier of a company in the armies of many Commonwealth countries, responsible for administration, standards and discipline. In combat, his prime responsibility is the supply of ammunition to the company. He also oversees the distribution of other supplies, such as water or food, although that responsibility is mainly that of the company quartermaster sergeant, and evacuating the wounded and collecting prisoners of war. For military units of the same level as a company, the equivalent may be squadron sergeant major or a battery sergeant major. In the household cavalry, squadron corporal major is the equivalent. First sergeant and company Feldwebel are the United States Army and German He are equivalents respectively. Canada. In the Canadian Forces, the CSM appointment is normally held by a master warrant officer. The appointment is sometimes held by a warrant officer, responsible for a smaller number of personnel. In the Canadian Forces, the SSM, BSM, CSM is referred to as Sir, Ma'am by subordinates, or as Sergeant Major. Superiors refer to him, her generally as Sergeant Major or CSM. If the position is held by a warrant officer, subordinates address the CSM as Warrant. Singapore. In the Singapore Armed Forces, the CSM appointment is usually held by a Staff Sergeant Master Sergeant or second warrant officer. He may be addressed as CSM by superiors and as Sergeant Major or Sir by subordinates. The CSM is often respectfully addressed by all as Ensik, Malay for Mr., but the permission for junior enlisted men to do so should not be taken for granted. Training schools sometimes refer to companies as wings. Instead of a CSM, the wing has a wing sergeant major. In the case of the Officer Cadet School, WSMs are second or first warrant officers, likely due to the greater experience required for the appointment. The CSM is the senior specialist in the company. He is in charge of the welfare and discipline of the specialists and enlisted men within, and usually has the company commander's ear. Drill and ceremonies is the CSM's responsibility. He supervises the instruction of drill by the platoon sergeants, and will conduct company rehearsals for parades prior to actual parade rehearsals. On the parade square, the CSM carries a black paste stick. As an experienced senior specialist, the CSM is expected to be an expert in the weapons and equipment employed by the company, and will assist in instruction where necessary. During exercises or operations, the CSM, aided by the company quartermaster sergeant and company medic, is in charge of organizing the company's logistics, manpower, and medical treatment and evacuation. If necessary, he can be tasked to lead a detachment composed of recoilless rifles and machine guns, to protect the rifle company from flanking attacks by enemy light armored vehicles along a contested axis. United Kingdom. In the United Kingdom, CSM is an appointment held by warrant officers Class 2 in the British Army and Royal Marines. A CSM, BSM or SSM is generally addressed as Sir or Ma'am by subordinates, or Sergeant Major. However, a cavalry SSM is often addressed as Mr. by officers and as Mr. Sir by his subordinates, with the salutation Sergeant Major being reserved for staff sergeants. Typically for the British Army, protocol can vary widely between units, creating a minefield for outsiders, new recruits, and soldiers serving outside the parent regiments. The most famous fictional examples are perhaps Battery Sergeant Major Tudor Bryn Shut Up Williams, portrayed by Windsor Davies in the 1970s sitcom It Ain't Half Hot Mum, and Company Sergeant Major Percival Bullymore and Company Sergeant Major Claude Snudge, played by William Hartnell and Bill Fraser, respectively, in the 1958-63 Granada television comedy series, The Army Game.